Before the incident, humans were considered amusing. Chaotic, certainly. Unpredictable, absolutely. But ultimately harmless. A species that had barely achieved FTL travel and thought duct tape was a legitimate engineering solution. Then Robert Bob Henderson missed his coffee. It started at the Galactic Assembly's quarterly meeting. 300 species gathering to discuss trade routes, border disputes, and the eternal debate about universal measurement standards. Humanity had observer status, allowed to attend but not vote like children at the adults' table. Bob was humanity's junior attaché, whose main qualification was being the only person who'd actually read the entire galactic charter, mostly because his ship's entertainment system broke and it was the only file that would load. The morning of the incident, the Assembly's food replicators malfunctioned. No coffee. Bob had been awake for 37 hours preparing humanity's futile petition for full membership. His eye twitched. "We'll begin with the Zephron Empire's proposal to annex the Terminus systems," announced Chancellor Vractal, a crystalline being who considered sleep a design flaw. Bob raised his hand. "Point of order." The entire assembly turned. Humans never spoke. "The junior species has no standing," Vractal dismissed. "Article 247, subsection J," Bob said, his voice flat. "Any species present during a vote affecting systems within 12 parsecs of their territory has automatic temporary voting rights. Terminus is 11 parsecs from Earth." The Chancellor's form flickered. "That's technically correct, but I move to table the Zephron proposal indefinitely under Article 186, Bob continued. "Requires a simple majority. I vote yes. You're one vote against 300. I also invoke proxy voting rights for the 17 extinct species whose territories border Terminus, as per Article 962. They can't vote against it if they're dead. That's 18 votes." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Zephron ambassador stood, his battle armor clanking. "This is ridiculous. You can't." "I'm not done." Bob pulled out a tablet that looked like it had been repaired with, yes, that was definitely duct tape. "The Karashi Confederation owes humanity 14 tons of tungsten from a poker game your ambassador lost last cycle. Legally binding contract. Article 89 states that unresolved debts grant temporary proxy authority. That's 42 more votes." The Karashi delegation turned purple, their species equivalent of a panic attack. "Furthermore," Bob continued, now standing, his coffee-deprived brain operating on pure spite, "the Velkhani Republic's trade agreement with Earth includes a most favored nation clause. Article 444 requires them to vote identically to us on all territorial matters or forfeit their mining rights in the asteroid belt. That's another 38 votes. Chancellor Vractal's crystalline form began to crack. "This is unprecedented manipulation of Bureaucratic. I'm still not done." Bob's eye twitched harder. "According to Article 1156, any species that has ever consumed Earth chocolate, which I know for a fact is all of you because you're addicts, has entered into an implied cultural exchange agreement. Section C, Paragraph 94 states that cultural exchange partners cannot vote against each other on first contact protocols. Guess what? Terminus contains 3 pre-FTL civilizations, making this a first contact issue by technicality." "That's not what that means," 12 ambassadors shouted simultaneously. Bob smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a sleep-deprived bureaucrat who'd found a loophole. "Prove it. In writing. In triplicate. Notarized by a species that hasn't consumed chocolate." Silence. "That's what I thought." Motion passes. Zephron annexation tabled indefinitely. "Next, I propose humanity for full membership. You need a supermajority for that." The Zephron ambassador snarled. "No, I need a supermajority or—" Bob held up the 1,000-page charter. "Unanimous consent from all founding members present. How many founding members are in this room?" He looked around. "Oh right, just the Altarians. Ambassador Zizoex, do you consent?" The ancient Altarian, who'd been asleep for the past 6 meetings, startled awake. "What? Yes, whatever. Consent to everything. Can I go back to sleep?" Motion passes. Humanity has full membership. and veto power over all future proposals per founding member privileges that apparently nobody bothered to revoke. The entire assembly sat in stunned silence. "My first act as Earth's voting representative," Bob announced, pulling out a thermos from his bag, "is to motion that all future meetings require functioning coffee machines. All in favor." Every hand, tentacle, and pseudopod slowly raised. They'd learned fear. The Zephron ambassador leaned toward his aide. "What just happened?" "I think," the aide whispered, "the humans just conquered the galaxy with paperwork." From that day forward, humanity was known not for their weapons or ships, but for something far more terrifying. They actually read the terms and conditions. And Bob got his coffee machine. Industrial strength. The galaxy never stood a chance.